So ladies and gentlemen, if you've clicked on the link, obviously means you're here for one thing. The start of the restoration of this MK1 Escort. As you see here, this is what we've chopped off the front end. And from now on, I'll show you brief photos of where we've got to throughout the process. So it's came to us, it's having all the work, all the welding. We're even going to paint underneath. We're going to make this car back to what it should be. So it was a rallied MK1 Escort. It's been abused. It's been, typical rally. It's been smashed up. It's been beaten out. It's been filled. It's been cracked on. So without further ado, let's run through some pictures. I'll do a bit of voiceover, tell you a little about what I know and how far we're going to get. Then that'll bring us on to the next steps. But one thing I'm still unsure about, is it worth saving? Well, it's a MK1 Escort. So of course it is. Plenty of work, plenty of panels. Let's get on. And this is what it looked like. There it is, the MK1 Escort Mexico. This is the inside, double dashed, as you can see. Perfect for the old rally. Some of the old stickers that are in the boot liner. See all the holes that have been drilled in that just to create the lightness. Last few shots of the car complete then. Look at that front valance, look. You can see there quite how much filler it's got in it. Back doesn't look too bad. It's had all the bottom end chopped off. So before it came to us, this is how far it's got. People have started to strip it down. Dave started to take out what he can. See the cage and some of the seats are still in there. They've took the bubble arch off. Slowly starting to cut the cage out. Engine's out now. And just look at that over the years of worth of it building up. So here it is. This is the day it arrived with us. No bonnet, no wings. Completely, well, all the bubble arches have been chopped off. It has been numerous colours, as you can see as we pan over. We've started to fit the spit to it. So there's the front end, which I've literally just shown you on the wall. Mounting up the jig, the best way to hold that is off the edge of the chassis rails. That's it, completely bolted to it. You can see the bulkhead there. It had some kind of black on it. Into the blasting shed then. It's going to get the full works here. We're going to beat everything off that we possibly can. Best way to do it though, put it on a jig, dump it on its side. Trusty bit of fall before there, just to hold it up. See the floor pan there. It's had a lot of abuse. You can see all the surface rust areas. So let's get going then. That's part of the under of the floor done. And that is pretty much nearly the complete floor. We'll just spin it over. Get both sides. Most of this is going to be chopped out. We can see the bulkhead there. See what we're challenging with. Dashboard, obviously we've been butchered for a lot of switches. Back panel complete now. Parcel shelf area now. All complete, all blasted off. It's quite thick in that boot well there. You can see numerous colours again. And we've probably completed about 80% of that floor in this photo. You can see there in the footwork, you can see the amount of damage that it's had as it's been beaten out. Various holes. So flip back over now. We've got the last little bit of the tunnel to do. There's quite a lot of undersill and stuff in the arches. So back out of the blaster shed now. And there's a few areas obviously we didn't blast. We're about to cut them off. Straight with the gas accent. Cut off that passenger front arch. You can see there I've still got the mounting bracket, so I know exactly where I'm going to put that top hat. Cut it all the way there, so that's the bottom of the floor. You can see quite how many layers there are that hold that together. Cut the whole of that bulkhead out as well. We have a brand new one of these to slot in place. Back to the other side then, cut both of them off. Just going to have to tidy up around that tunnel because we are going to keep that tunnel as it is. So at least now we're in video form, but the other thing I forgot to mention in the last few clips is we've actually cut both of the front chassis legs off. So these are the mounting points that bolt up through it. That's to hold it in place. And down here you can see where I've peeled away the floor where it sits up in that cup. Unfortunately, as you can see, which we should have known, are completely goosed. I do have now, and the customer has just purchased 2 new chassis legs either side. So I can cut them completely off knowing that the new one is going to sit in there. And he's also now bought the top scuttle. Obviously we've got a new heater bubble, but the new top scuttle to go on top of that. So now I'm just going to lay the inner arch in, both sides. I'm going to bolt up the chassis leg, and we're just going to push that up. It just sits over it. Okay, so as you've just seen there, that's how easy it is using my Mark top mounts and the pillars that hold up the bottom. So the cross member for the engine would go across there, and that is the bolt holes that I've just used to bolt those 2 legs up. Let me just show you then. There you can see that's how it slots into it, hence why I've cut it all out. This is bolted in. This again needs a bit of dollying and fettling to get nice. Obviously it's still loose, but when we line it up with our exact holes on the top, you see there's certain bits, this kicks off, that should be a bit lower. I've got a new one of these, so that's next job then. I'm gonna get the new one out of the box and have a look and see what I've got to cut out to get that going. We've also been welding up some brackets because where I've cut that panel out, I'm going to have to take this out. I think I've got inners, but we'll soon find out. So there's an outer skin that lays over the top of it, okay? And it lays over the top of the hinge mount. So the hinge mount shouldn't move, but in case we have to, I'm going to have to take the brackets off. So I'm going to cut that outer skin out. And you can see the inner one there, which, like I say, we may have. It's both either side. Depends on how bad they are when we get to it. And just a better angle of that there, like with that leg. The bracket here also, that's the bracket for the engine mount for the Vauxhall engine. And there's the new one out of the box, and like anything you buy, and it gets posted. We've got a bent bracket, so I have to get the dollies out in a minute and give that a straighten up. What is missing off this, there's the odd brackets here that hold the grill on, which they can go on at a later date. We're way up where we need to cut, so I was just going to start cutting it out. I'm going to unpick along the top of the dash. I'm probably just going to weld a bar across just to keep that together. It's not going to take 2 seconds to do. And then we can see kind of here how far that is going to sit to it. Again, got the new ones of these, which I've just mentioned. So let's get a bar welded across and let's get the cutter out. So instead of welding the bracket across from the A pillar to the A pillar, we've already got these towers. So I'm going to weld a little tab on here. I'm going to drill the way through to bolt that up. I'm going to want to take that off at some point to be able to get to this panel. So I'm just going to come off the A pillar with a bar and weld that to it, so that's bolted to it all the time. But that's going to stop any of that moving. That is also basically welded or bolted to that bottom frame at the bottom. So let's just get this tacked on in. Okay, and all that's going to do then is going to bolt that up, and it's sitting lovely on top of that. Nut and bolt will just, let me just put a welding side just for safe measure. And again, just on this, there's no point in cutting the thing up without even having half a chance of knowing how you're going to brace it together. You could easily cut that up, and do you know what will happen? The roof will fall down. Okay, so I'm just going to drill down here, pinch the two together, just so I can stick that bolt in. So, quick coach bolt and a 13mm across those brackets that we just added on, although it is hot. That's both that side now, squared up. That's then bolted across. Lovely, that's solid. Now we're going to come weld onto the A-post, come bolt through. We'll do that both sides. That will then secure this. It'll just save that dash, just in case it's not very strong. Stop it from crumpling in. That's the 2 brackets made either side. I'm just going to clean up this area, obviously, so it can weld, a couple of dots, and then I'll bolt that down and then weld it on. So we're using this brace for one of 2 things. One, to be an actual brace, to brace the car, basically to stop it from falling in on itself, hence why we're putting the bars across. But also, we're using that to tee off to mark up key areas like hinge locations, just to make sure we're putting the things back in the right place where we need to. Okay, so that is now welded on, bolted up. Brace done. Right, so let's strip these front wings off and the front chassis legs, and let's get the cutter out and start cutting. So the main thing to be careful of is that you're not going to nip anything or any other panel around it that you shouldn't cut with the cutter. So I'm just being very cautious there of where I cut. So all I've done there, if you just, well, you have just seen, I've just cut along the edge of the seal that joins the dash and pinches the panel up. So that's just spot welded along there. And what I haven't done is cut too much of the corner, because, let me just put this down. I'll show you. There is the butt of the old, another panel. So what I didn't want to do was cut that. So I've cut around here, and you see up here, that's what we're about to pick off. So the dash is staying. We're going to pick all that off, and when you, as you see, it kind of tucks over it, and it lays over the top of this. So here, hopefully you can see that and you get what I'm talking about. That's the original panel there, look, down to here. So there's one last bit of bracing we're going to do, and then we're going to brace from here up to the top of the A pillar there, just on this side. So basically when we cut that away, it's not going to crumple. So this has got it this way, and then this will have it this way. So that will all still stay in the position that it's in. So just explaining about picking it apart, all I've done is I've cut with the grinder on the time lapse, and then all I've done is used a splitter tool and just split my way along. And all I'm going to do now is there's a spot weld here, and then there'll be a spot weld here, and then there'll be a spot weld here, and they should be so far along, but I'm just going to run the grinder along the top of it just to see where those spots are. I'm literally going to cut down, chip them off, and then that will take all that off, because there's quite a lot of flex there in that dash. I don't want to hit it too much and start distorting it. So I'm just going to run the grinder over it and then see what it's like. So yeah, a lot of you might be saying you could use a spot weld drill bit, but I much prefer using the grinder and using a chisel. So see there, just from running the grinder over it, I've got 1 spot, 2 spot, 3 spot, 4 spot. You can see the spots where they've just spot welded them all the way along, which they're going to be around about the same distance apart. So as long as I'm clever enough that I can carry on just grinding this. You see there, this is just the lip. I was just grinding that off with the grinder just to see each spot. So all I'm going to do now is just chop them down. I think that's why you're watching here. So the idea is to be very careful when you're cutting with a disc. And I'm literally, you see how gentle I'm being there. I'm literally cutting through the first panel, but not cutting into the second panel. And I'm almost not cutting all the way through it, but just enough to almost score it up. See if I can unpick it out, like so. And all I'm left with then is just the spot, just to flick off with the grinder, and then that'll be the whole section off. So guys, I'm going to end this video here. What I'll do for the next video, you shall see, I would have already taken the rest of this off. I'd have picked my way along like I have done here. Same process on the side it is on the top. We're on a bit of a stump at the moment, so the customer is purchasing this inner panel. It's the only panel that we haven't got out of the collection of pillar panels, because down this edge it is all, well, someone's had hefty go with a welder. Thank you so much for watching so far. Again, a lot more on this to come. It does look a bit like a train crash, but it will all come together very soon. Next video, I'd like to see the whole front end at least tacked together, tech screwed. We'll have the bulkhead on, we'll have the front scuttle on. It's going to look amazing. So guys, don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Keep it real. And if you've made it this far, a little sneak peek on the scuttle fitted.